Good morning. Happy Friday. This is Kay Steinsip here. Thank you for joining me to commiserate on this Friday morning. I am happy to be here with you all. So much to talk about. Um, Thanks for coming back. I was listening to one of my favorite podcast hosts, Scott Galloway, yesterday. If you don't know Scott, I love listening to his various podcasts. He has like three of them. He is a professor at, I think it's NYU. He talks about all sorts of interesting things, but I digress. Check out Scott. I really enjoy, especially Raging Moderates with Jessica Tarlov, as well as Pivot with his other co-host, Kara Swisher. So check those out. But my point is, Scott was mentioning on one of his podcasts that someone asked him like what his setup is and how he records his podcast when he travels so much. And he was describing his whole professional setup, including when he does his travels. And one of the things he mentioned is, the magic is in the editing. And I thought, man, am I just doing a bad job with this podcast? And it bothers me because I'm a perfectionist and I want everything that I do to be as good as it can be. But there's no editing here. There aren't even multiple takes here. So I probably don't come across as, I don't know. He was saying, the editing makes him sound smarter and takes out things he shouldn't say. And so, I probably say things that an editor would take out of this podcast. But then I thought maybe I should get an editor. Maybe I should get like a professional setup and equipment and all of that, which I don't have. This is literally just me sitting in front of a computer. I would love your feedback. I ultimately decided, A, it's hard for me and expensive and all of that. And B, maybe there's something good about just being raw and real and completely authentic and, no filters, right? I'd love to know your thoughts. Anyway, on today's episode of Coffee and Commiseration, trying to sound like a real pro here, I have two things I am going to go off on. Yes, it's going to be some venting, and then I'm going to close with something more zen and positive. So, first, little update on the family, because you all are so kind to always ask. We're good. We're a little. Everything's a challenge because we're displaced from the fires. We're living in a temporary place, as you know. We got to find a new place, and it's proving to be quite difficult. The other one I was hoping to get, I don't know. It seems like those owners don't want to. They are also having trouble finding somewhere else, I guess, for them to live. So it's just hard. The housing market in LA has always been difficult. And in the wake of the fires, it's extremely much more difficult. And there's so much price gouging and it fucking pisses me off. We were looking at a place that we like that's near where we are in Venice. And it was listed at like 12,500, but right before the fires. Then it went off and came back at 20,000 after fires. And I asked, like, oh, did the owners do some upgrades? What justified that? No response. Like, they probably won't rent to us now. And I know these prices sound insane, and they are. This is like our reality here. We're going to be paying a mortgage for a home we can't live in. And also renting a place at a high price. And while our insurance is going to cover the rent, we hope they only look at this in 3-month increments. So, you've got to sign a lease for usually like a year. We're going to need at least another year to be out of the house, but they won't approve anything for longer than a 3-month period. So lots of struggles with that, but we're okay. We're, as I said, making the most of our time here in a different place, enjoying different restaurants and things to do, and making the best of it. Nate just finished his spring break. He did a little road trip with my mother-in-law. They hadn't spent any time together in a bit, so that was good. That was a positive thing. So Now Eli is starting his, and I decided to take him to Fresno, to my hometown, where he's only been twice in his entire life, and he's almost 9, and that makes me feel terrible. Um, my family just has a lot of issues, and so it's been hard for me to go back home, but I want to. One of the things I've always hated, and I get really uptight about, to be honest, like whenever I say I'm from Fresno, people here in LA will be like, "Oh, from Fresno," like they talk shit about it to my face, and I always respond like, you understand, like that's my hometown, like I'm from there, I love it there, my friends and family are there. And John's always like nudging me like, hey, I'm like, I don't care, like it's so rude to insult someone's hometown to their face and think it's funny. Um, and honestly, I think it's part of the reason we lost the election, the Democrats, because people think they're better than other people. Just because they're from whatever, from LA, they're from San Francisco, they're from wherever. No, you're not. And I hate it. So I am happy to be going home, taking Eli for a few days and, visiting the zoo where my grandfather was a director for many years, and the zoo is named after him, seeing family and friends. So actually, I'm going to go. This is crazy. I can't remember most of the places I lived in. I lived in so many places as a kid. I really didn't have a lot of stability. I lived in a lot of different apartments, mobile homes, like little rental homes. I slept on a couch for, my ninth grade year. Like my kids have a different life than me for sure. And talking to my friend from home, she was mentioning a place I lived in, and I was thinking, yeah, I lived there for years and I barely remember it. I only remembered it since she mentioned it. The thing I remember randomly most, and I'm totally digressing here, I'm sure an editor would delete this. I swear I'm going to get to my points because I have to, because I have so much to do today. And I'm sure you do as well. The thing I remember most about this place that my friend was telling me about is that I used to take the bus, the city bus, to school. In middle school. That's when I lived in this place. I think it was on a street called Vassar. We're going to check it out in Fresno. I'll let you know. I used to walk by myself to the bus stop every morning, and every afternoon I'd walk back home because I went to school far from where I lived because I didn't want to switch schools all the time, and we moved around a lot. I used to walk by this home on my way to the bus stop, and this man would be in the window every morning and he would be exposing himself. Like he would be fully nude. And I would just hurry past his house. I would stay on the other side of the street. I never told anyone. I never told my mom. I never told my dad. I never told anyone. Like, it's so weird to me to think about that now. And I think about like I was younger than Nate is. And it was just normal to me, or not crazy to me, just uncomfortable and weird that I would walk past a man in his whatever. I never saw his face. I only saw his body, and he was so stupid. He was trying to show his dick off, and instead he mostly just showed his belly and his groin area without showing everything. It was so dumb and gross. And he would just be standing there exposing himself every day. And isn't that strange? That's what I remember most about that area. And so strange that I didn't think to tell anybody, and that was my reality. I had a very strange upbringing that, I'll talk about more. I think it's interesting just to know people's stories and backgrounds. And I ended up in a very different place from where I started. Again, not saying it's so much better, but in many ways it is better. I mean, my kids live a much safer, you know, what do you call it? Like safe, predictable, stable. That's the word I was looking for. Excuse me, stable lives than I ever had. So anyway, I digress. We're going to Fresno, and I'll, let you know what we get into there. Hopefully good stuff, and, a little tour of where I grew up. The home that I grew up in the most, where I lived with my dad from like most of my high school years, that home later, after we lived there, after he moved, became a meth lab and blew up. Only in Fresno. I guess that's why they make fun of us. Anyway, getting to my points. So, two things I want to talk about that are really pissing me off. I'm going to start with this post from, I believe it is the New Yorker Magazine, to its, how many followers does this Instagram account have? It has 8.6 million followers. And look, I don't mind dark humor. I appreciate dark humor. Sometimes you just have to laugh, or else you go insane, even when things are really difficult. However, this post from yesterday, no, 2 days ago on New Yorker Magazine's Instagram feed. It has a cartoon, and the person who made this cartoon is named Benjamin Schwartz. Benjamin Schwartz, your cartoon sucks. And New Yorker Magazine, you suck for posting it. It says, "You've entered the final stage of grief, milking it." And I'll just show it here. I mean, this is such a low tech podcast, but you can kind of see it. If you're not seeing me, you can see me on not Instagram, on Substack, on YouTube. I do video record these. So this is the post. It's like a guy is sitting there talking to a therapist. He's crying. There's a box of tissues there, and the therapist is helping this person. Looks like a young person. You've entered the final stage of grief, milking it. Fuck you. Like, this makes me so angry, because, as I've said, I've shared about this many times as someone who unfortunately lives with grief every day of my life and will for the rest of my life. We live in a society where we are discouraged from sharing our grief, from sharing our loved ones who died. And it's really, really unhealthy. It leads people to not process and not share their loved one. I wrote a whole essay on Substack about how when we went to Mexico over winter break, it was just so great to be in a culture where the dead are part of life. My son Nate, when we were walking through the botanical garden, said, Mom, what I love about Mexico is like the people who died are just part of everything. You see memorials and plaques and things written about people who died, and it's normal. It's part of the culture, as it should be. Everyone dies. Everyone experiences loss and grief. It's the most universal thing in human existence. This is what happens to all of us. And in America, we live in denial of this fact, and we prefer to pretend that, it's not going to happen to us. And when it does happen to us, we're told to shut the fuck up. Like, your grief has an expiration date. We don't want to hear it, especially when it comes to the loss of a child. And unfortunately, tragically, infuriatingly, for those of us who have lost a child, we honor them by sharing them. Most of us. I moderate a group for bereaved parents, together with my friend Nelba, who lost her daughter, Anna Grace, in the Sandy Hook shooting. Incidentally, Anna would be 19 years old today if she had lived. And Nelba does so much work in her daughter's name to help others. She has a school named after her daughter to help other kids. And I do the same, because that's how I go on from this. My daughter, Molly, would have changed the world if she had lived. She really would have. I know we say that a lot, and I'm not the only one who has said that about Molly. Our rabbi said that as well. She was extraordinary, and she touched so many lives. She was only 12 years old, and her life mattered, and it still matters. It matters a lot. And the only way I survive this, the only way I go on from this, and I must go on from this because I have two little boys who need me, is to do the things that Molly would have done, that I think she would have done. And I feel I know what she loved and cared about and was passionate about. And I feel that we are so connected on a deep, deep soul level, as all parents and children are. Um, but I feel especially Molly and I are. Uh, I do those things because she's not here to do them, because she only lived for 12 years. And that's why I started the Molly Steinsapier Foundation, helping thousands of people who need help, who are poor, who are homeless, who are fire victims. Now we're helping Altadena and Palisades fire victims in huge ways. And nobody takes a salary. It's all donation driven. And it just really bothers me that that cartoon is suggesting that people who are grieving are somehow milking it. Like, what do we get from this? I don't get anything from this. All I do is give. Um, in the same way that when I had cancer, I was so inspired by my friend Suzanne, who will come on this podcast eventually when I figure out the tech. I guess that's why I should hire some people, is to like help me figure out how to do all these things, because I am the least computer savvy person ever. So when I had cancer, my friend Suzanne was years ahead of me in the process, and I was newly diagnosed, and I was just terrified and beside myself. And like, for a, I don't know, I mean, time, you lose track of time when tragedy strikes, right? When terrible things happen. I remember a pretty long period of time after my diagnosis of just like being frozen and unable to do anything, and just absolutely petrified and terrified, because I didn't know if my cancer was curable. At first, I knew I had a lot of cancer in my lymph nodes, and the doctors were really worried about my condition and whether I would be able to make it. And since then, I've lost several of my closest friends that I made along the way. So um, my friend Suzanne extended a hand to me. I did not know her. She was introduced to me by someone else. She met me at my first chemo, and she's never left my side since then. And together, we also moderate a group for folks that have breast cancer who are at any stage in the process, newly diagnosed, or like us. I'm now almost 9 years out. And I never thought it would be possible for me to do what Suzanne does when I was going through it. I just never thought that I would get to a place where I'm not constantly in fear of cancer, where I could actually help other people. And I have since then personally talked with and helped hundreds of women with breast cancer. And I don't say that to toot my own horn. I say that because that's what enables me to go forward. That's what enables me to live with this. Using the terrible thing that I lived through, that I still live with, because while, thank God, I don't have any evidence of disease, um, I live with a completely changed body. And changed life, and things that I wish I didn't have to experience at such a young age. So helping other people and talking about the fact that I had cancer is what helps me to find meaning and helps me to go forward. And similarly, with the death of my daughter, I'm not doing this for me at all, other than it helps me to find a reason to keep going, right? It helps me to find meaning. And that's what it's all about, folks. It's all about finding meaning in suffering, because suffering is part of human existence and we cannot escape it. If it hasn't happened to you yet, it will, because it's part of life. Suffering is part of life. So I love the books, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. That's one that I can't ever keep on my shelf because I constantly give it away. That book changed my life. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Um, it's all about how we respond to what happens to us. We cannot choose what happens to us, but we can choose how we respond to it and what we do going forward. And I'm all about that. That's what um, my Substack is all about, turning pain into purpose. And it's not because I enjoy having a large social media following. In fact, it creates it creates challenges. People are really cruel. People are mean when you're out publicly and you're authentic and you're telling the truth about what you think. And that truth doesn't always line up perfectly with what one side or the other thinks, because we've become so polarized and so tribal. People go after you and it's vicious. And as I've said, many times I think about just not even having any social media and just closing everything and even closing the Molly Steinsipier Foundation because people are so cruel and send horrible messages to me at the foundation that, they're glad that Molly died, that I deserve that I deserve to die. Horrible, horrible things. And simply because we're Jewish and we believe in the existence of Israel as do 95% or more of Jewish people, because that's what Judaism is all about. There is no separating Judaism from Israel. If you study anything about Judaism, if you attend any Passover Seder, which is coming up, or Hanukkah, or anything at all, all the traditions center around Israel. So the idea that people want us to say Israel should not exist, right? Because that's what, when you say you're a Zionist, all you're saying is the state of Israel should exist. And of course it should exist. It must exist. Haven't we seen that with all of the insane anti-Semitism around the world? If we didn't have Israel, I honestly believe there would eventually be no Jews. I think the Holocaust would be completely repeated and there would be no Jews. So I digress. But because I am someone who has said I support the state of Israel, which is a beautiful place, by the way. It's a democracy. It's vibrant. It's so diverse. It's a wonderful place. If you haven't visited, you should, when things change, because I wouldn't go there either at the moment. But it's amazing. Tel Aviv is so fun. It's just, it breaks my heart to see people attack Israel so much, because it truly is a democracy. It truly is. And that's hard, by the way, being a democracy in that part of the world, surrounded by enemies and by governments that are the opposite of democracies, right? So even if we say we don't support the current Israeli government, we don't like Bibi, which I don't, and most American Jews don't. Um, Unless we say we hate Israel and it should not exist, people hate us and they threaten us and they come to our synagogues, they come to our schools, they come to our restaurants, they come everywhere we are, and do vandalism and violence and threaten us. So that's kind of where we are. And if you are somebody who is outspoken about your beliefs and your principles, you're going to get attacked. Anyway, I didn't like that cartoon at all. It's not the way we should be communicating about grief, and it creates a situation that already exists so much in the United States, where we just don't talk about grief enough. And we're, especially bereaved parents, we're always going to talk about our kids because we are always going to love them. We will never, ever stop talking about them, nor should we, nor should you ask us to. Because if you're a parent, you understand this. You love your kids forever and ever and ever, no matter what. So I'm never going to stop talking about Molly, never. And I'm not milking it. I don't get anything from that other than I get to make sure that her life continues to matter and have relevance, and people know who she is and they know what she cared about. And she was such an incredible, incredible person. And she continues to be a beautiful soul. And so, no New Yorker magazine, no Mr. Schwartz. I'm not milking it. I'm finding meaning and I'm finding a way to go forward, and I'm helping others who want to find a way to go forward with their own losses. That's what I'm doing. So your cartoon is so offensive and you should apologize and you should delete it. Um, my second rant is related, and I got into it there. I kind of, you know, blended the two a bit. So my second rant is political. As you know, I'm not a supporter of Donald Trump. I have never been a supporter of that man ever since he rode down his golden escalators. I think this guy is a phony. I think he's an idiot. I think he's a con man. And we're seeing further evidence of that, folks, as he's completely tanking our economy. And what he is doing is going to hurt poor people the most. And rich people are going to come out better off and richer. And it's just so sad. Like the people who voted for him, so many of the people who voted for him, the farmers in Fresno, my hometown, where I'm taking Eli in a couple days, people in red states, those people are going to be hurt the most when their Social Security checks stop coming. Um, he's created a situation where we're just not as safe as we were. We have a crazy person, Laura Loomer, advising the president of the United States about who to fire in national security. We have people like Pete Hegseth and Mike Waltz sharing our intelligence on Signal, which isn't secure, and compromising the safety of our military personnel and the safety of all of us. And so it just makes me so angry that we are in this situation in a second Trump term where, unfortunately, I know people who voted for him who thought, oh no, this is just him. He just says things. It's not really true. To his credit, I will say, Trump told us he was going to do all of this shit. Like he told us he was doing these tariffs, and people just didn't take him at his word. I don't know why not. Like, I guess because he's so full of shit, because he lies all the time and he says things that ultimately aren't true. So people just were like, oh, well, he just says these things. And it's like a negotiating tactic. It's the art of the deal. If he says these things, then people come to the table and make a deal and they start to pay more of their own fair share. No, you know what? This is a global economy. We can't change that. There's no going back to whatever times he has in mind, that he wants to go back to where we were just isolationists. No, things are made all over the world, and we can't make them all here. Of course, we want to have more manufacturing jobs in America. Of course, we want to support American companies, right? But unfortunately, especially small businesses, oftentimes are selling goods that are imported from other countries, right? And they cost a lot less so people can afford them. They're all about to get a lot more expensive now. And those small businesses and large businesses for that matter are going to pay the price. A place like Walmart can negotiate with their overseas suppliers and be okay. The small businesses who import goods from overseas, they can't do that. These tariffs are going to be paid by the American taxpayer. Every economist said that, and that is the indisputable truth. Unfortunately, Donald Trump doesn't have people around him this time to say to him, Mr. President, you need to understand that this is what's going to happen. That this is not a genius idea, that this idea is actually going to result in crashing the economy. And for some people, they're just chaos agents and they just want destruction. I get that. On both sides of the aisle, by the way. They just want to destroy shit. And we need to speak out against that every time we see it, no matter the political party. So there are people on the right who are happy that, okay, he's going in there and he's just fucking shit up. He's just blowing it up. Elon's there with the chainsaw. He's just cutting people, cutting programs, just destroying our government from within. Uh, this is horrible. It is dangerous, and we should all be speaking out against it. It's going to hurt so many millions of people, and it's literally going to cost lives. So part of my rant here is about the fact that we knew that this was going to happen. He told us what he was going to do, and he was still elected. And I think a lot about why we lost, why we lost the election, why we lost our democratic base, why we lost working people, why we lost working people in all categories, by the way. Um, you know, white, Hispanic, black. We lost people across the board, right? I mean, to different varying degrees, but um, we lost the working class. And why? Why? Because they're the ones that are going to be hurt the most. Why didn't we appeal to them? And part of it is this um, illiberal, liberal left, right? They are actually not liberal. They don't allow anyone to say anything that is not completely in line with what their message is. So, as I said, I lost a lot of friends, so-called friends, after October 7th because the message that they were putting out is Israel is bad. Somehow Israel deserved this. I'm sorry, but no one deserves crazy, uh, lunatic, insane, religious, lunatic people coming in to their homes, snatching people out of their beds in their pajamas, and brutally massacring, raping, pillaging. I'm sorry, no one deserves that at all. And the fact that anyone suggested that is disgusting. And um, I don't understand why people have taken the side of literally of terrorists. I will never understand it. Um, but I especially don't understand why they came after us American Jews in the way that they did, simply for being quote unquote Zionists, which again, I think that term is absurd. Zionism is over. Zionism was about the creation of the state of Israel. Since 1948, that's a done deal and it's not changing. So I find it ridiculous that we're so focused on that term. And it's just a coded way of saying Jew and discriminating against Jews. It's gross. It's disgusting. So what happened to me is, and it's interesting how these two topics really overlap. So some of I was in a group of thousands of lawyer moms, and I have great friends from that group. I've traveled with them. I mean, I'm really glad I was part of it, but I am no longer part of it. It was very progressive, very left leaning, and when I shared my support of Israel in any way, that was offensive to some members of that group. And they started to no longer like me, and which is fine. I don't need people to like me. That's completely fine. That's your prerogative. But it is part of the reason why Democrats lost, right? Because these people who want to portray themselves as so tolerant and so accepting and so enlightened are actually illiberal. They don't allow for different thoughts, different points of views, for dialogue. Absolutely not. They don't. If you are not lockstep with what they say, you're out. And we've seen that over and over again. And it also goes to this elitism of, we know better. We're the educated, sophisticated elite people, and all the rest of you people who have, any different background or point of view, or God forbid, disagreement with any of our positions, fuck you. And I'm angry at those people, not because they attacked me, which they did, um, but because it's part of why we lost. And now we all find ourselves in this fucking position, with Donald Trump at the helm for 4 years, and, suggesting he might not even go away at that point after 4 years. He might just disregard the Constitution and stay in there longer. So now we're all in this hellscape. And again, I'm angry at the Democrats for not offering people a better option. And I'm not saying Kamala Harris wasn't a better option, because she was. I voted for her and I campaigned for her. Anyone would be a better option than Donald Trump, literally, pretty much anybody. Yeah, but I'm very involved in politics and have been for all of my adult life. I sat in front of Kamala Harris. She was maybe 5 feet away from me. I listened to her speak, and I heard nothing that ignited the fire in the belly for me. And I wanted to feel that. I went to that event hoping and ready to feel that, fired up, ready to go. I didn't feel that. And it felt so scripted, and like I didn't see the real her. I didn't see like what motivates her, what gets her out of bed, what is her passion, what makes her want to, fight for people. I just didn't feel it. I didn't see it in the same way that I've seen and felt it from Bill Clinton or Barack Obama, who I've also seen and met in person. And we need that. And part of what people like about Trump, even though he's fucking crazy and blowing shit up now, is that he's authentic, right? Like there's no filter, there's no bullshit. Like there's a lot of bullshit, but you know what I'm saying? Like he is who he is, and he says what he says, and he isn't worried about offending people and all of that. And it's like we were too worried about polls and about, we're not going to talk about immigration because that's a bad topic for us. We're not going to address that trans issue, the ad, because that's bullshit. Whatever. We're just not going to address it. No, we have to address it, and we have to be in all the spaces, talking to everyone, talking to people who disagree with us. At my alma mater at UCLA, I've been on campus and seen these protesters, these encampment people, up close. And I'm a curious person, right? I want to have a dialogue. I want to know why are you out here? Like, what motivates you? What are you protesting about? Why are you not in class? Like, what is happening here? Like, I want to have a dialogue with people. And let me tell you, literally, if you are not 100% what they want you to be, and in this case, it's anti-Zionist, so anti-Jew, they literally won't talk to you. They won't look at you. Nothing. Absolutely not. It's like you're not even there. And that is not liberal. That is not what we do in a place of higher education. That is not how we learn. That's the opposite of what we should be doing on any university campus. And it is the opposite of what we should be doing as a Democratic Party. So I am pissed about that. And it relates back to, by the way, the first thing I was pissed about, which is that stupid cartoon telling us we're milking it and don't talk about, our dead loved ones. Like, it relates in this way. So the people who didn't like my position on Israel, the fact that Israel should exist, even though I don't like Bibi any more than anyone else, and I think he should go, although he is nothing like these other crazy, autocrats and all of that. Like, people misunderstand the government in Israel, and they don't want to understand. They don't want to understand anything. They want to just, have their simplistic views, and they want to regurgitate those, and they don't want anyone who has any different point of view around them or to be heard. And it's so maddening. So those same women, these educated lawyers from elite universities, working in high level legal positions, also said, if you hashtag the name of your dead daughter, you can say whatever you want in response to, and not to me, by the way. They don't say these things to me. They say them in their own um, forums, and of course, word gets back to me. So they don't like what I have to say. So they say I shouldn't talk about Molly. Like, leave my daughter out of your mouths, right? And don't tell me like I shouldn't talk about her. Uh, and that somehow, again, it goes back to this idea of like, am I milking it? How could I? Do you think I would ever, or anyone would ever want to be in this position, would want to live this life? I'm like walking around with missing limbs and nobody sees it. And I will never be whole, right? I will never be whole. I couldn't even live but for my boys and what I do to try to grow Molly's legacy and help other people and animals and the earth in her name, right? And so it's just so gross, all of this. So yes, this is a venting podcast, and hopefully all of that made sense without editing. Hopefully I didn't digress too much, but you can see how the two things kind of overlap a bit. And now, finally, I know I've been talking a lot. If you're still with me, here's the Zen part. The Zen part is I was thinking about sharing this with you because I yesterday, while Eli was at school and Nate was on his trip, I had a massage, and I felt guilty doing that, like during the day, which is so weird, right? Like, why should I feel guilty? Like, but I did. I feel like I should be doing something else and productive and helping and doing and all the things, right? But I got a massage, and as I was there, I was thinking, wow, like, I don't take care of my body enough. I have all of these lingering issues from all the surgeries I've had. And I was thinking, wow, I don't take care of my body enough. And I was also thinking, like, wow, how amazing is my body? Like, I gave birth to 3 kids, 3 big babies. I had tough pregnancies, tough deliveries, 4th degree tears with Molly. I mean, I was on bed rest. I was sick all the time. I had really challenging pregnancies. I came through that. I had cancer that literally almost killed me. I have had more surgeries than I can count, multiple breast surgeries, I've had hysterectomy. I've had all these lymph nodes removed, just tons of stuff. And wow, what a miracle that my body is still containing my soul and like still working and is still here, and healthy, relatively healthy, walking around, doing things. Like, how amazing is that? Like, we just don't appreciate it enough. And while I was thinking about, there's all these bad things, obviously, and I'm somebody who can't turn a blind eye to them. And I'm always thinking about them. And how do we come back from this? And what's going to happen? Like, what kind of future are kids going to have with all of this crazy shit going on in the world? And it scares me and worries me and upsets me. And also, I can also appreciate, like, wow, what a miracle it is to just be alive. Like, what a blessing it is to just be alive. Eli's birthday is coming up. He's turning 9. And what a miracle that I'm still here with my baby. And I got to see him grow up to be age 9. And I hope to have many, many more years watching both of my boys grow up. And I don't take it for granted because I was so sick when he was just a few months old and I didn't know if I would live. I really didn't know if I would live. And too many of my friends who were also young mothers, like, didn't get to live. And I just think about that and I just appreciate being here and I don't take it for granted. And I hope you don't either. And I hope that even though we're in these dark times and we have so much to be angry about and despair over and worry about, that we also just appreciate every day and we enjoy every day and we live it to the fullest and we don't let people bother us. We do the let them method, which I love, by the way, that book. I'm still working on listening to the audio, but I love it. And I'm trying to do more of that. Just like, let them misunderstand me. Let them say horrible things about me. Let them even say that I shouldn't be alive. Like, let them wish for my death, these crazy people. Fuck it. Like, who cares? Um, what am I doing with my one wild, precious life, whatever the phrase is? What am I doing with my life, with my time? And I'm proud of what I'm doing. Like, I'm fucking killing it, you guys. Like, I'm doing so much to help people that is really making a difference. And I'm going for the things I want to do. I'm doing this podcast, even though it's not perfect. And I want to be perfect, and I want to be better, and I want to be professional, and I want to do all the things, but I'm just doing it because I don't have the ability to make it all that right now. And maybe I won't ever have the ability to make it all of those things. And so instead of just not doing it, I'm just doing it. And I'm super proud of myself for that. And I thank you. If you're still with me, if you listened to all of this, if you followed all of this, I thank you. I have so many wonderful friends and supporters, literally from all over the world. And so I don't regret for a minute being out there publicly. No, I do regret sometimes for a minute, but I don't really regret it because so many wonderful things have come into my life because of it. And I'm able to do so much to help other people and to grow Molly's legacy and to share her that I don't regret it. I really don't. And so thank you all for being part of this. And I can't wait to show you what's happening because it's so exciting. We're really growing the foundation and just doing so much. And I really feel like the universe is conspiring for my highest and best use and purpose. And I feel like Molly is with me 100%. And I still have hope and I still have optimism and I'm still happy to be here. So I wish you a wonderful weekend and I thank you so much.